This is the first time I thought, well, pickleball is dead.
When's the last time you've been to open play, Corin? Have you been to open play in the last year?
I was so taken back because that is not the sport I love.
If it's not safe, are people going to quit playing? And unfortunately, we saw a person lose their eye. There was a death.
That's not happening as much anymore. But you got to keep up. Do we need to limit paddle technology? Do we need to move the kitchen line back in every single pickleball court in America? Should I go to open play more often? I won't. Welcome back to the Southern Pickleball Podcast. As always, I'm everyone's favorite 4-4 duper Corin. Alongside me, my co-host and co-founder of Southern Pickleball, Mark Spackman. Today's topic is pickleball still the game we fell in love with, or the new players and crazy advanced technology turning this into something that will stunt the growth of the game? As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And thank you to our sponsors. Head Pickleball, a favorite of Southern Pickleball and its players all across the country. Diadem Sports, the official pickleball of Southern Pickleball and of the world, and the only pickleball that we want to play with and you should want to play with as well. And Mizuno Pickleball, the shoe that is helping us grow the game on and off the courts. We're also grateful for Mizuno's continued support of Southern Pickleball as they provide us with some incredible giveaways for our tournament players and fans. All right, so Mark, one of the OGs from, my perspective. You were playing probably before I was, I assume. They've kind of heard your story on here, but the game has changed. I mean, I think you would agree. The game has changed a lot. It is much, much different. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know how much the game has changed. I think people's perspectives of the game has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get into it. I mean, there's more power and everything and all that, but I think when I first came into the game, it was just more of a community event. It seemed like it was more that 50-plus people my age population, real welcoming, trying to teach new people to play and lobby courts. I mean, we talked about wanting to go out there and just dink and have 12, 14, 15-point dink rallies. That was a good point. I always call them pickleball purists now that they don't like to speed up, but now the game's a lot faster, a lot different. So
a lot faster. I think you mentioned it. The technology is crazy. I mean, I think even like the balls are faster, but obviously the paddles. When I first started playing, probably around 2021, $150 paddle was a premier, really good paddle. It was probably a Selkirk. Not many people are even using Selkirk anymore. Now some of these paddles are, Selkirk especially over $300. So the game, like you said, is just speeding up. And but more than that, what about the people coming in the game, right? Because it's obviously is one of the most popular sports in America, the most popular sport as far as gaining popularity. And so with that, there's a whole new group of people that have come in. And to me, when I started pickleball, people talked about how they loved it because it wasn't cliquey like tennis was. That was the word they used. Like, tennis is kind of cliquey. You have to be in with your group. And here I can just come out and play with anybody. 18-year-olds playing with a 70-year-old on the same court. That's not happening as much anymore, right? I mean...
Right. I think that's why I hesitated when you say, has the game changed? I originally said no, because what I'm thinking about, the rules are still the same, right?
Yeah.
So the rules are still the same, play it the same way, but have the people changed? Now, if you ask me if the people changed, I might say, yeah, we've seen a big change in the people. I don't feel like courts are as inviting and welcoming. Right. We talked about on our last podcast this infatuation with duper and how we're getting everybody's identifying with this 4-digit number or whatever you have. I think they go to 3 decimal, maybe, or 4.
I think three decimal.
So
4.444.
Yeah, so you know what you are. So I just think that it's changing. The people are changing, and if we're not careful, we better watch out for padel or paddle, depending on what part of the world you're in, because that's coming quick and it's easy to learn, and people are loving that. So I think we really need to figure out how we can protect the game, and I think some of it does, to your point, start with technology is one way.
Yeah, so, again, the paddles, $300+. And I think it's now people are starting to think that because these paddles are so good and you can do so much that there's like this big skill gap, right? Whereas before, if we all kind of just used this little, they call it, before the carbon fiber. Anyways, if we all use wood paddles, right? We're kind of all on an even playing field. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You're going to be dinking. If they can dink, it's all right. It doesn't matter the age. And now, I think 'cause people are hitting the ball so hard, they're making it dip. They think there's this huge skill gap. I was playing the other day, and this is the first time I thought, well, pickleball is dead. And pickleball is dead in this way. There was a group of young men playing, and this is open play, right? And the courts are full. Group of young men playing, 2 on, 2 off. 2 of the young guys win. They're obviously all 4 friends. 2 older gentlemen come on. The 2 guys who just won kind of like scoff, like, ugh, And in between points, if the old guys miss, like very visibly. When I was so taken back, because that's not the sport I love. That's not what pickleball was when I started. But I think that's the harsh reality of what pickleball is becoming.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm sure it was hard to witness. If you see that, I mean, it sounds like you're saying lack of sportsmanship. But at the same time, if those 2 young kids, I mean, if that was their only 2 hours, if they're working a demanding job, that's their only 2 hours they get to play that week. And they had their foursome out there, and they wanted to play with their foursome, and now they got 2 old guys that aren't at their skill level. I mean, maybe I'm one of those guys, because I'm an old guy. Maybe I'm not at their skill level coming out. Should they have to just, work me into their game? I think we sort of talked about that over and over. Just there's not enough courts, for everybody. Right. But my concern, Corin, is that it's the safety of it. So because if it's not safe for those guys to play, are people going to quit playing? And that and I lived that. I think we've talked before. I came from the softball world way back, and we started with, they tried to regulate the balls when they started having all the double wall bats and then the triple wall bats or whatever, and if you can see the little scar I have on my eye here, it's from a softball coming back, hitting off a rubber and come up and hit me in the head, and it's, it just got where it's too dangerous. I no longer wanted to stand 50 feet from somebody and throw a ball underhand. And I can remember, my wife and I would play co-ed, and it got to where I was no longer with those bats and everything for what was going to be a fun Saturday. I didn't want to risk her coming out there and standing on third base and having, some big, 250-pound guy that's probably taking steroids hitting a line drive, down the road. So the game, the competitiveness of the game, which I think is what we're going through in pickleball right now. In softball, we saw people start taking steroids. They started painting illegal bats and everything else. And then it got to where it was unsafe that the average rec player no longer wanted to play at that level, because it wasn't safe to go out there on a Saturday. We still, and unfortunately we saw a person lose their eye. There was a death,
Wow. Yeah.
So I think if we're not cautious about that and pay attention to this, I think we do. I think there's a couple of things we can do. The first thing I would say right now, let's just move the darn pickleball line back a foot on each side of the net. That's easy. I said that before back when Peter and I were on here talking, but you move that pickleball, the kitchen line. I'm sorry, I'm sort of stumbling over my words, but you move the kitchen line back 1 foot on each side. That's going to give you almost 15% more reaction time. Yep. You talk about for the pickleball purists that love the third shot drop and the dinking, it gives you, almost 15%. I think it's, 14.285 or whatever percent more room to drop that drop in. Mm-hmm. So I think it just naturally, because I don't know that we can legislate all the technology, but we can fix the field, and it's happened in other sports, Corin. I mean, baseball, they've moved as the bats and balls got better, they've moved the fences back. When everybody figured out to hit the three-point play, in basketball, when it was closer, they've moved the three-point play back. So we would not be the first sport to change the dimensions on the court.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's really hard, though. I mean, all these cities putting in these multi-million-dollar courts, how much is it going to cost them to repaint all of those courts?
Paint for one line going across.
Yeah. Well, you gotta paint the line. You gotta paint the extension of the kitchen line. It's I think it's a little bit of an undertaking. I think that's interesting.
So there's a price for safety.
There is a price for safety. Yeah. I think I might have a little bit of a different view. I think you do have to regulate paddles, and I think balls. I think you can regulate the ball. If we just
how are you going to regulate the ball?
How am I going to regulate the ball? I think a great example. We had a ball from a brand. I don't know if I should mention. I won't. It was pretty soft, right? And so if all these balls now they have, for example, paddles are being regulated by PB Core 43, whatever the number is, right? If we can do the same thing with the ball, right? And of course, there's going to be illegal balls and rogue balls, but that's going to be the minority. That's not going to be the majority. So if we can have a slower ball, for example, you watch the U.S. Open, the U.S. Minto Open for the pros, they use an X40, which is now considered a slower ball. Longer dink rallies, more hands battles, longer points, less putaways. The ball's not moving as fast. I think a lot of it's in the ball. I think they're trying with the paddles, but I think the issue with the paddle thing is they're always going to push the limit. But if there's just a standard ball, right? Maybe it's the compression of the ball, maybe it's the hardness, whatever it is. I'm not smart enough. But I think if you just regulate the ball, and every ball that they sell at Dick's Sporting Goods, online, at Target,
Well,
at
play
Walmart.
the indoor ball. The indoor balls are
Yeah,
so.
play the indoor ball, right. I mean.
But then most of these people that we're talking about, these not the pickleball purists, the new people coming in are going to go, hey, it's not fast enough or whatever,
Well, I mean, listen, I'm a pretty good player. Everyone's favorite 4-4 duper, Corin Duginski, on site. Some of these paddles, and if you give me, like a Dora ball, and you give me one of the new Yolas, like I'm a pretty in-controlled player. I've hit some shots. I'm like, that was dangerous. And I'm very conscious of it, and I'm not trying to be, but it's.
Well, I think there's two different topics we're talking about, though. So one, dangerous or whatever, and I was talking about that, trying to make the game where it's safer, more inviting for people to play. But I don't understand, like, the resistance with the ball to people not wanting better points. Like, you and I play in some similar things, and I know the ball that you're talking about from that company that had the softer ball. But when we would bring the softer ball out and play with our little, quote, advanced, I don't know if we're advanced, but we like to call ourselves advanced.
For a league.
Yeah, So when we would play, and we would play with that softer ball, we would have more pro-like points.
My goodness.
We would have longer rallies. There would be more counterattacks and everything because the ball was harder to put away and whatever. But I tell you, everybody's over there going, oh, the ball's too soft. I want to play with this. And, I just never got it. I mean, the softer ball always made us have better points.
Much better
points. More play.
Yeah.
And so the more thing I was wondering about how you really get the ball regulated, though, is I was listening to one of the other podcasts, and they were talking about the testing facility that they went down, and they were showing everybody, and they said they had to go like through 300 balls to be able to get balls that they could even use for the test because the inconsistency in the ball. So their first problem before they could test the paddles was to get a consistent ball that was within their standards.
Yeah.
So I'm just like wondering which one's going to be easier to test, the ball or the paddles.
Yeah, and maybe I saw James Ignatius, which then he was on John Q, and he mentioned something. Maybe it's not the ball, then it's the paddle, and he mentioned something really, I think, cool, which is right now they test PB Core. I'm a little bit nerdy, sorry, but they just test it out of the box, right? So you get your paddle out of the box, you hit it. Well, these paddles break in and they get stronger. Right, so maybe we got to lower that number. The other thing you mentioned that I like though is maybe pros and amateurs have different paddles, right? Maybe there's different regulations, and he kind of likened it to baseball being wood bat, and then the little leagues are aluminum. But I think it should be opposite. I think the pros should have these overpowered. They can handle it. We see them every week handle it, and then what we get should be maybe like a little bit dumbed down of that product, right? Until you get to, and then I guess if you're playing like a pro qualifier or something, you're putting all that money, then you get your own paddle. But
yeah, I get it, and it makes sense. Before you elaborated on your point, I was going to argue that baseball was different because you got the wood bat at the top, and then you flip-flopped it. I think the problem is that the consumer with us is that we're always going to want to play with whatever the pros. I mean, I can remember, and sorry if one of my former tennis players is, doubles partner is watching, but when Federer was playing with his 95 or 90 square when he's racket head, then I see all the players that are playing with me going and wanting to buy that because that's what Fed plays with. They want that same. Well, man, you couldn't hit it with a 100 square inch head. You probably needed to go to the 110.
Yeah.
But we always think we want to get that technological advantage. We're trying to look for something. We don't want it to be just off our ability. We want to be able to buy our way into being better.
Yeah.
I listened to a little bit about that Ignatowicz thing. One thing I was interested in, I haven't looked for, is that I saw that Ignatowicz recommended that amateur players should start with a wide body.
Wide body. Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how inconsistent are we in hitting the ball? I mean, I miss hit the ball all the time, right? And I think this also goes to show, like, is the technology outpacing the fundamentals of the game, right? I mean, if we're saying, I think we've said on here before, some of these new paddles can raise the level of a player, 0.25, but if only the technology is doing that, he's still kind of the same player making the same shots. Maybe they're,
If you could have 10% more power or 10% more control, which would you take?
I don't want to answer that question. I'd take 10% more power. I mean, listen, I am going to make this argument, and I'm going to be a hypocrite. I literally just changed paddles because I thought my paddle was too soft. But I think some of that also is, like, having to keep up. Like, I actually don't mind the paddle I was using. I was using a carbon true foam, and I thought it was a great paddle. But I see these people hitting these rocket launchers at me, and I'm like, man, like, I got to keep up. Like, I'm playing.
Well, I just wonder if that's we're getting fooled mentally with that, because I was talking to somebody the other day about that too, and I think the answer for me, is I really don't need to be able to hit the ball any harder. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think the control would really affect my game, but it's very scary for me to give it the power that I don't want to not have the power on the court. But I think the control is really what makes our game better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you have that control, I think let's just go back just a little bit. You were talking about softball and kind of liking that to pickleball, but I think we need to make a distinction of, like, you were playing in softball tournaments, right? This is pickleball open play, most, like, kind of what we're talking about here, right? We're not really talking about the tournament aspect much. We're talking about.
But this is, so I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to clarify. Yeah, so we played softball tournaments, and we played pretty high level softball tournaments. I had a lot of fun with it, but what that ruined was recreational Tuesday night softball.
Okay.
Because you had to have parks and recs that would ban certain bats, because
right.
now you go out there, when you had tournament players that are out there that are more skilled, and you have my wife and her friends that they've all played college softball, and a lot of us players that either played high school or college baseball and stuff on a team. Sure, it's dangerous, but you're equipped. But then you take that same bat, and now you go out there on Tuesday night, and you got the local high school football player that's never played softball,
right.
and he's dangerous. He doesn't know where he's hitting. At least on tournaments, you knew they're going to hit you. It's kind of like, if you're playing in a tournament and you got body bagged in the face at 4 or 5 level, you pretty much know the guy was trying to hit you, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the difference is you go open play and somebody that's brand new that doesn't know, and they just haul off with that paddle, and that ball's going wherever.
Yeah.
When you're least expecting it, it's dangerous. So that's where I think that our safety issue right now is just with this equipment. And I tell you, you can regulate as much as you want. You can try to regulate the balls, you can try to regulate the paddles and all that stuff. But the easy answer, Corin, is to move that kitchen line back 1 foot. It gives everybody, it gives 15% more reaction time. It's going to put the third shot drop back in the game more.
Yeah.
It's going to make dinking more. Now you got to test some agility too, because you're going to be able to get in there to get some of those short dinks and get back out.
Yeah.
It's going to make the shots that you want to see more, like the Ernie's going to have to be a little bit more athletic now, because you're going to be farther back. It'd just be a game changer. It's easy. They just messed up, and we're talking about some guys in 1968, was it, or 65 or whatever?
50 something, I think.
Nah, we're in the 60s.
Man, maybe
60s. Almost sure.
Jamie, pull that up. I'm just kidding. We don't got a Jamie.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, But so in Bainbridge Island, Washington, they're out in their driveway or cul-de-sac or whatever, and they decided they wanted to make it. They weren't deciding what the court size was going to be like for the next 1,000 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they did it because it's similar to a badminton court. So they just thought, making that kitchen line an extra foot, would change it. It would make it so much safer for everybody.
Yeah, I don't want you to think I'm against it. I think there's some validity to it. I think especially like hands
So you're
battles.
just worried about the Parks and Recs not being able to afford the paint to
Yeah,
put the paint down on the line?
Here's the thing. I think
Somebody said that last time we talked about that. They put, they can't adopt all the thing. Well, hey, I mean, if not, the Parks and Recs are going to have to start putting signs up of what paddles are approved at their parks, or you're going to start having liability issues.
I do think there's always going to be that, again, rogue. I mean, there's people out there today using these illegal paddles, right? But I think just like if the majority, right? If it's the majority, and I think like if you look at this last professional tournament, the wooden paddle tournament, like it was old school pickleball. I don't want to sound like a purist, but I mean that's the most dumbed down pickleball technology. It's a piece of wood, it's a plank, right? And those guys were third shot dropping. They were having 20, 30 shot dink rallies.
And the best player still won.
Yeah, best player still won. Yeah, exactly.
That was the good thing about that tournament that they did. I mean, we saw that. I mean, that it did. If you have everybody with a level playing field with the technology.
Right.
But, I mean, what does that say in Pandora's box or whatever? I mean, it has been opened and it's out. I don't know how we can put that back. There's too much money. Too many manufacturers that are making big money. There's no way we can go back to wooden paddles.
Yeah, well, and that brings me to like kind of my next point though is I think pickleball got too professional too fast. And what I mean by that is I think everything these paddle companies are doing is kind of catering to what these pro players want. And listen, no offense to the pro players. I think they're phenomenal athletes. I have a ton of respect for them. They're not making the money in pickleball. They're not bringing in the revenue. Especially not the revenue of what they're making.
Well, I mean, kudos to them. They're making the money.
They're making the money,
but they're not bringing in.
They're not. They're only able to make this much money. Why? In my opinion, because PPA is going to put on these phenomenal experience tournaments, good for them, and they're going to have 1,500 amateurs backing that prize pool, and Ben John's $2 million, I don't know what it is, multi-million-dollar contract, and it's being paid for by you and me. And you know who's buying the most paddles? Only ones buying paddles? It's you and me, right? And they're so pandering to these pros who it's one of the least attractive sports to watch right now.
Yeah, I don't think us buying the paddles has anything to do with the pro players either. I mean, I thought about it on the way over. I'd heard something that said that Riley Newman was still making $1 million a year in pickleball, which is amazing to me. I did see that shot of his apartment, like in New York or whatever. So I was like, how long does that last? Hope he's investing well, because he's definitely near the end of his run.
Yep.
But I just, dropping Matt Wright was a bad move for him too. I think.
Yeah, terrible. Matt Wright's had more success than Riley Newman.
Yeah, but anyway, I digress. But Riley Newman. Let's say he's making $1 million a year, and think about how many fans that watch him. Gunnar Stockton, UGA quarterback, probably on an NIL deal at $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. Watching the Alabama-Georgia game, 80,000 plus fans, nationally televised,
right.
Everybody watching, all that. I mean, it's just the pro pickleball players just. I mean, they're lucky that they hit it at the right time with some people that had a dream. And somehow, I mean, and I hope we can figure it out for the growth of the game, because I am invested like anybody in pickleball, making it. But somehow we got to drive the fans to pro pickleball.
We got to drive the fans to pro pickleball. Or it might just be a really good recreational sport. I mean, let me put it to you this way. In my opinion, pro pickleball is not what made pickleball so popular over the last 5 years. But everything that these paddle companies have been doing, these ball companies, everything has been towards the pro player. But it's not them that's grown the game of pickleball. It's Susan.
Well, I think we might see
Park, right? I mean,
I think we might see that start changing though. I mean, aren't we seeing? I mean, Yola's kind of dominated that market. Aren't we seeing less and less paddle companies that are really going after the pro players now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. There are definitely a couple paddle companies out there that are marketing to the amateur, and that's good. But it's still, they have to keep up with whatever Yola's putting out. So while they may not be going after the pro player, their technology is still, the same as what the pro players are using, and they have to keep up. If you go out and you're selling a Gen 2 paddle, it's not going to sell. When there's these Gen 3, Gen 4s, they have the trampoline effect. They're playing like tennis rackets now.
I think it just depends. It's not going to sell in the games you and I are playing, and that's the 4-0 plus games. But I'm just not sure that, Wednesday morning at the YMCA, that they really care.
That's true. I just joined the Y, and I'll tell you, they're in there. They're playing on the gym floor with the indoor ball.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
and
loving
that's what
life.
I mean. I think this game's growing so fast. I mean, we get sort of pigeonholed into wherever we're at in our thing. But I was thinking the other day, I was telling somebody about Southern Pickleball tournaments. Now, when we go to pick a tournament site, we want dedicated courts everywhere, and
Yeah.
we say, oh, our players don't want to play unless it's dedicated courts, and we prefer them to be indoor. And if you have a facility that you'd like to tell us about, info@southernpickleball.com. So
Please.
we have a great partner program and all that, and we can help with all sorts of things with that. But I thought about that afterwards, and I was like, that's not really true anymore, because there's people playing on gym floors at churches and YMCAs and fitness centers and all over the country every single morning. There's probably more of those than there are, and I think they don't even know a pro pickleball player's name.
Yeah, that's probably true. But I think
And they would love it if there when you went have to paint that line, they could just tape that line
oh yeah.
a foot back and have that kitchen at 8 feet instead of 7.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is true. I mean, you really want that line changed. Well, that's what we're gonna reach out to the UPA and USA Pickleball and say, hey, we have a $1 trillion idea. You want more exciting points? You want better dinks? Move the kitchen.
It'd be a win for everybody,
Yeah,
amateur to pro.
It could be. I don't know.
What's the biggest drawback? Well, I mean, can you think of anything right now other than
like money from these counties? No.
fixing the courts?
No, I don't think. No, I think it'd be a funner game for you and me. Even.
I mean, I think the average pickleball court has to be resurfaced every 3 or 5 years. So within 3 to 5 years, we could have the game completely.
Yeah.
Even if we had to put down some tape until 3 years ago we were playing with tape lines anyway, so we could just put some tape down until.
Yeah. I don't know. You're kind of selling me. I don't know. I just still. It's such a big undertaking. I mean, I'm glad that you think it's possible. I'm sure it's possible, but how quickly. These again, so many courts going down today, but. I mean, back to the just the point of topic. I think people, technology, great. If we can't stop it, we can't stop it. Me personally, I hope we do. We can't get too much more. We're gonna start playing with tennis rackets soon. Court, sure. Have some respect when you come in the game. How about that? Understand what you're coming into, and there's always going to be some rogue players, and there's nothing we can do about that. But to think you're going to go out to an open play and it's going to be your 4 guys and you guys are going to be able to get on the court every time, have some respect. That's not what this game is. Play a game with Miss Susan and Mr. Walter. And I tell you what, afterwards, if you're nice enough, they may tell you how nice of a young man you are. They might give you their granddaughter's phone number, tell you to take her on a date. And it's a win-win-win. You dial it back for a game or two. That's what this game is.
But how do we teach everybody that? Because, I see the kids getting criticized for all that, but what other sport in America do you go out and expect that you just walk up? I go out, don't have to plan, call anybody. I just show up at a park with my paddle, walk up, go out next to your court. You got 4 people that you've taken time to coordinate with all week. You've called them. You've set your schedules. Y'all decide to play. I'm just going to come up because I'm bored and I'm going to start warming up next to your court, and then I get to go in next.
Yeah, well, I have a pretty simple solution. Rent a court. There's enough court rentals out there. Take yourself to one of the trillion indoor courts that are opening now. Rent a court for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you don't deal with that. But this is, if you're going out to a public park.
So you think any public park should just be all open play all the time, come up, everybody should mix in with each other and play?
I think that is what pickleball is. I think that's why pickleball grew. I think that's why pickleball still continues to grow, because the thing I saw with the 2 guys and the scoffing, that's not,
You,
that's
sir, are a pickleball purist.
Oh, I dink. I'm a dinker.
Yeah.
I'll dink with you 40 times backhand to backhand.
So if you go out on a Thursday night and you have to play 7 straight games with people 2.5 to 3.0, and what are you in your 30s, late 20s now? I'm sorry.
29, yeah.
29. So if you have to play with people,
I must be aging bad.
50 and above, below 3.5.
Yeah.
You're if you play 7 straight games, you're just going to be nice, cordial, Corin.
Yeah. Well, what do I expect? I'm going to.
So honest answer here.
Yeah.
In the past month, how many times have you went out and played open play, Corin?
Yeah, I don't.
Why don't you, Corin?
Because I have private courts.
Yeah, where you can have your private games, that you don't have to play with those other people and be welcoming,
even though I don't pay a rental fee, I pay because it's my neighborhood. It's included in my HOA fees. I pay.
So what you're doing is so what you're telling us all is what you would like all of us that don't have access to private courts.
No.
How you think we should act towards other people, so we can keep building the game that you love, so you and your exclusive group can go play on your private courts.
Listen though, if I do go to open play, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna play.
When's the last time you've been to open play, Corin? Have you been to open play in the last year?
Yeah. I've been in the last year. I've maybe even been in the last month and a half, maybe. But
that's because your wife wanted to go to open play, so you took her.
Yeah,
but not for you, right?
No, but you know what? I played with my wife, who's a 2.9 duper.
Yeah,
and I played with her.
Because your friends in your private game wouldn't let her play with y'all, so you had to go to open play to find a place for her.
Yeah, but it's private. I think private versus public is two
I
things.
get that you're talking pickleball purist, but you're not living pickleball purist.
No, I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life. Listen, I think where I have access to courts because they're in my neighborhood. Again, I'm not paying an hourly fee, but I pay for those courts, right? Same way that if anyone else wants to, they can go to. I'll put in a plug. Atlanta Pickleball Center, Dill Dinkers, one of these, Pickle and Social, Painted Pickle. I just named everybody in Atlanta. You can go rent it.
We forgot Planet Pickle, where we're going to have a Southern Pickleball tournament.
Oh, brand new place, really nice place.
Yeah,
too.
Planet Pickle, November. Got to have our fall classic up there to support.
Super excited.
The Special Olympics.
Special Olympics, yeah, really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I am a little bit of a hypocrite. I just bought a brand new paddle that's PB Core 0.43 or whatever.
I think we go big hypocrite would be a better way to say it.
Yeah. Listen, I get it, but I'm also not. If I do go out to open play, I don't have to. It's a privilege I pay for. I am still I'm part of the open play. I don't think I'm above the open play, right? And you can argue that I maybe think I'm above the open play because I have my private groups come to the neighborhood. But when I'm at open play, I'm not above the open play.
Well, you were here. I mean, we had Chase Mason on, and he said it best, I think. I mean, I think there needs to be, the 3 types of play. There needs to be a time for open play. There needs to be a time for reserved courts where you can reserve and play with your group. And then there needs to be programming. And I think that's the one thing when you look at, these people that we classify as the pickleball purists back to the old people, they were welcoming, they helped build the game, and I love them for it because it wouldn't have created, without them and what they did, it wouldn't have created the opportunity that we've taken advantage of and seized with Southern Pickleball and built our company, and all that. So without them, but it's also changed, and all 3 of those type formats are welcoming a different type of people. For some people, the idea of just walking up to open play is completely intimidating, and they're not going to know the rules. They're not going to know the norms or what to happen. So they would rather have a reserve court time where they can go with 3 or 4 of their friends. That doesn't matter if they're 2.5 level or 5.0 level. There's all that. And then there's another time that neither one of those fits. They don't know somebody. They may be doing a new endeavor, but they need structured programming.
Yeah.
And they want to go to a time where they can sign up for a lesson, a beginner lesson, or a beginner ladder league, and they're willing to pay that money. And that's part of the pickleball purists, like, oh, we can't pay any money. Well, it's interesting. I'm not willing to pay any money for a court or pay for a tournament, but I just bought a $300 paddle. So that's always been inconsistent in my head. But regardless, whatever they feel, there are people that are willing to pay because they see a value there. So, I mean, we have to have the open play. We have to have some reserve court time. We have to have programming. And it just sets up for another great plug. I think that's people know Southern Pickleball as a tournament organization. All we do tournaments, but we're so
Right.
much more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have over 100 affiliated clubs.
Yes.
And a lot of what we do is consulting and going in and working with local areas and talking about how do you feel, wherever you're at with the number of courts you have and the demographics of your players in your area or whatever, how do we work those three things out? And how do we find time to have open play, reserve time, programming, and then what kind of tournaments do y'all need in your area? Do you need a local tournament or do you need economic impact and a big tournament's going to bring people in to build facilities? But I think that's just a lot of what we offer with Southern Pickleball. And so, I just think anywhere out there, and I would have said if we were doing this a few weeks back, I would have said, if you're anywhere in the Southeast, reach out to info at Southern Pickleball if you want us to talk to you about that. I think we're really committed now to taking the Southern thing around the country.
Yeah.
So, now let's say, anywhere in the country, if you get that, do that. But that's just, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I know I sort of went into, when I hear a problem, I like to go like, how can we help it?
Right.
And we
right.
can help that. And I was just, but I do think we're coming from our own perspective. And I do think you're talking about how you want people to be, not how you're really living it yourself.
Well, but when I'm there, I am living it, right? But we could go all day on this, but couple things. One, pickleball is growing, and it's not stopping anytime soon. So
it is, but we can't take it for granted.
Can't take it for granted. I mean, like you said earlier, there's
gonna be
nipping at the
people loved racquetball.
Yes.
I mean, one of the first times I told somebody about pickleball, they said, "Well, hey, you like hula hoops at one time too, right?"
yeah. And tennis is always there. I mean, like even me, I see myself like I keep wanting to hit tennis. I'm like, oh, let me go ahead. Let me see if I can hit tennis now. But anyway, so pickleball's growing.
Could we be a gateway sport to tennis because it's easier to start?
Easier to start with pickleball, and then you get your kids playing pickleball. Reach out to me, Corin at southernpickleball.com. I'll do your lessons. Hey, I'll do any of your lessons. I'll take you from a 3-0 to a 5-0, 2 weeks. I can't do that. But I take it to a 3-0 to 3-5. But yeah, so kids play pickleball, go to tennis. Who knows what it becomes? But the sport's growing rapidly. People are coming in. It's going to be now a bigger demographic of people. Pickleball, as we knew it, is dead. And that might be okay. I don't know. It hurts my heart a little bit, but it might be okay. It might be fine.
Well, I think it's different things. I mean, I think, I had a conversation with Jason Aspis, president of UPAA, a week or so ago, and he's really working hard. I think he really believes that controlling these paddles is important to the growth of the game because we got to keep the game safe. If it's not safe, it's going to die, So 100%. I think we got to hit safe, I hope he keeps working hard on that. He's a smart guy. I think he's got, something going with that. But at the same time, if we move that kitchen line back a foot.
Yeah. Well,
just an idea. But yeah, so you're going to make one point. I'm sorry, so cut you off. But yeah, the pickleball is growing. It's not, but I just say don't take it for granted. I mean, we got to all keep working. And to your point, let's still try to be welcoming out in the court. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we had a game, and so, the other day we had to force them come out. We had a guy that came from out of town, walked up in the court. Nobody else there. We were like, God, can there not be anybody out there, And so we let him into our game, we played and we rotated, So, and he turned out to be a good player, so it was okay. But, we took a risk with that. So, I think that's just we have to pick our moments, when we
you're living it.
Yeah.
You're living it. Yeah. It's a new game. I mean, even the way I coach is different now, I don't teach people to drop the thirds. What's the point? It's the most inconsistent shot in pickleball. Drive it. With these strong paddles, but you got to keep up. So,
just coach them to get it over the net.
Yeah, beat the net first, right?
Yeah.
Yep. But you guys, let us know what you think. Let us know in the comments. Do we need to limit paddle technology? Do we need to move the kitchen line back in every single pickleball court in America that's been built in the last 5 years, even though they're cost millions of dollars?
Should Corin go to open play more often?
Should I go to open play more often? I won't. I won't. Or what should we do, if anything at all? Is this growth good, or and all the people coming in, or do we need to, should we start keeping some people out? You guys let us know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in.